Welcome everybody to the second annual DLD game show, the only session at DLD where beers for the participants is mandatory. So, before we start, I have to say that DLD is not only about fun and games, it's a very serious conference, and we're going to talk about some very serious and interesting topics. But rather than do it in the old-fashioned way of passing the mic between panelists that are sitting on stage, we're going to gamify it a little bit and spice it up, make it into an interactive experience. Without further ado, I would like to reintroduce our contestants today. First, the person that was named by New York Magazine as the most feared and well-liked person in Silicon Valley. And she's going to intimidate you on stage today. Please welcome co-founder of ReCode, Swisher.
Hi. Should I go up there? Okay. Oh, I've got to run?
And dance your way to the stage.
All right.
From New York City, a person that can communicate with robots, and as she'll soon show you, her intelligence is everything but artificial. Please welcome co-founder and chief marketing officer of TOPBOTS, Adelyn, Zhou. Thank you. Now, we wanted to match these two fine ladies with someone of equal caliber from the United Kingdom, which was a very tough task. And we ended up bringing the last person who didn't get the memo about print being dead, editor-in-chief of Wired UK, David Rowan. Yeah. By the way, David, print, just so you know. All right, you guys feel free to use the beer bottles. Don't touch the buzzers just yet. We'll explain the rules of the game as we go along. We will start the first round of our game show today will be inspired by the American TV game show, The Price is Right. In the original game show, they are showing you a product, and you have to guess what is the price of that product. We'll do a little twist and take on that thing. We'll ask you different questions that have numeric answers. Each of you will provide the answer that, their guess. And the person who's closest, the contestant whose guess is closest, but not even $1 or a decimal above the actual number, gets 25 points. So let's start. In 2016, we saw a lot of companies soar to high valuations. The undoubtful biggest loser of 2016 was Yahoo that got acquired for less than $5 billion. And rumors say that when the deal will close, it will probably be much lower than that. Can any of you remember what was the highest valuation of Yahoo back in its glory days in 2000? No buzzer. It's like all of you can answer. So, Kara, since you're so enthusiastic.
I think it was $42 billion.
42 billion.
I think it was around 42 billion.
David, your guess?
28 billion.
28.
50 billion.
50 billion. So here's how the game works. All contestants were equally clueless, but Adelyn was the least clueless of them all, so she gets 25 points because Yahoo's value at its peak was no less than 125 billion.
Oh, that was way better.
And it seems ridiculous, right? I mean, you're looking at it and saying, who could have thought that this little company would be worth $125 billion? Do you think that in 17 years from today, we'll be looking at, let's say, the 370 billion valuation of Facebook and find it equally disconnected from reality?
Yes.
Please. Thank you. Next question. In case you want to elaborate, feel free. But if you want to make it a yes or no question,
it's inevitable.
Okay.
There's no tech company that goes past 15 years at this point, except Microsoft.
And do you think that this is not only for Facebook specifically, but are we really in a tech bubble? Do you think that today's valuations are in any way attached to the actual value of the companies?
No.
Who's going to be the first $1 trillion company?
Well, Apple, I suppose.
Definitely.
They almost did it, right?
Yeah,
but they didn't do it.
Not quite.
Probably not now. So,
right.
Nobody.
Well, hopefully our contestants will warm up with time, and maybe they're so preoccupied. They're so in it for the win that they forgot that they're also here to provide some intellectual stimulation. Let's make sure they drink a little bit more and move to the next question. So, with Snapchat looking at a $25 billion IPO in the next few months, we are looking at Instagram that in the past couple of months is beginning to look very, very similar to Snapchat. According to, I have to quote the right source so I make sure that I ask the question correctly. According to Bank of America, Merrill Lynch analysts Justin Post and Joey Stran. What is the current value of Instagram had it been a standalone company?
$19 billion, I think.
19?
I think it was 19.
How about you, David?
25 billion.
25 billion. And?
29 billion.
20?
29 billion.
29 billion. And the correct answer would be
Oh,
37 billion. So once again, Adelyn wins the jackpot.
You just take
Good
what
for
we
you,
say.
Adelyn. Now,
double
job.
now, what do Kara, from your standpoint,
Yeah.
when you look at the way that, that Instagram is adapting so many concepts that Snapchat originated.
It's a really nice way of saying cheating.
Okay, do you want to elaborate? I mean, do you feel that this is really Facebook is taking off the gloves and is going straight into a direct war to prevent or to tamper with Snapchat's IPO?
No, I just think they don't have any new ideas, and so they take the ones that are working with young people. You know, Snapchat, I don't think it'll be successful because that's what Microsoft tried to do. That's what everybody tries to do. And so they're doing a nice fast follow. It's called fast follow, essentially.
They're good at slow following as well.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
good at slow following.
It took them a couple of years to get mobile, and then a couple of years to get messaging. They had to spend 19 billions, and then a couple of years to copy WeChat.
Yeah.
They've been trying to follow Snapchat. I mean, they tried to acquire Snapchat first years
Yeah.
ago, and Snapchat said, hell no. And then they tried to do it like Instant or then Paper and all those different versions.
They tried a lot of things, and
Yeah.
they haven't worked so
Well,
far.
it was recently published. I saw just a couple of days ago that now the Instagram Stories feature has as many daily active users as
course.
Snapchat Stories.
Well, 'cause it's
so it
enormous.
does work in terms of they were able to replicate the traction.
Well, it's because they're starting with a number that's so huge. They're going to get, if they didn't get that many, you'd be disappointed with them because they've got so many people pointing at it that from their Facebook service, it seems like, I mean, that's what big companies do, copy innovative small companies. But the most innovative company still to me, as we were just talking backstage, is WeChat and all the innovative stuff they've done on their service.
And it's true for other, I don't know how closely have you been following the sort of Asian companies in the mobile space, but it's true that the mobile innovation is usually coming out from the East and gets adopted in the Western hemisphere much later.
Absolutely. And even Snapchat is being re-innovated in Asia by companies such as Snow. If you've ever checked out Snow, it has hundreds of filters versus Snapchat only has like 10 filters that you can use.
Only 10.
But you can check that out too. So it's very
All right,
interesting.
people,
Snow
let's
is
see if
great.
our contestants are able to try and give Adelyn a proper fight in the next few questions. So we're staying on Instagram, and according to eMarketer, what percentage of US businesses, US companies will use Instagram as a marketing platform this year in 2017? So we're looking, the answer has to be between 0 and 100, just in case you don't understand how percentage work.
I have no fucking idea.
All right?
What is considered business, like SMB or large?
Any corporation.
30%.
30.
55.
David?
18%.
18? 1-8 or 80?
1-8.
1-8. It looks like there's only one person here that kind of realized how this game works. The correct answer would be 70%. So that's pretty monstrous. Here's the giveaway. We are staying on the topic of social media and moving to the next question, talking about online video. So Facebook made strides into becoming the dominant platform for presentation or viewing of online video, and overcame YouTube in terms of number of daily videos being viewed. While YouTube reported about 5 billion video views a day, what would be that number on Facebook today?
Oh, you're going first.
So if YouTube had 5 billion, and so what is Facebook, which is more than, so the bottom is 5 billion. 7.3 billion.
That's very specific. All right, 7.3. David?
23 billion.
Oh, nice. 12 billion.
12 billion. The correct answer is 8 billion.
I swear.
So just to say, it's still all, it's still a very open competition. Just so you know, everything can change. It's a very tight race. It's going to go down to the wire. Bear with us.
Is this...
I can't comment on that. Let's talk a little bit about bots.
I won the electoral college.
It's like in an attempt to fail Adelyn and make it a bit more even playing field, let's talk about her area of expertise.
Right.
So talking about bots, bots definitely made a splash this year and are becoming part of the conversation and slowly becoming part of the daily usage of everything we do. How much did that translate into investment? And specifically my question is...
Okay, this is someone who has a bot company, right? All right, okay.
Listen, we had one about media as well. I didn't see that play to the advantages of the media people.
Go ahead.
So,
You're just trying to show that the media know nothing.
What is the total dollar amount that was invested in bots companies in 2016? David, why don't you take this one first, since you're doing so well?
Globally?
Yeah.
$3.7 billion.
No, you go next. She knows. So
30 million.
30 million.
million? You're trying...
Lowballing.
Yeah, I can see that. $1.2 billion.
1.2 billion. And the correct answer is...
Watch.
Let's see. 170 million.
Sorry.
All right, listen, this round is going phenomenally well. I have to tell you, the other two rounds that we have are completely different rules, so they may speak to the advantages of other people among our contestants. Last question in this fashion. Looking ahead for this year, it's anticipated that many companies such as Pinterest and Spotify will go public. According to their last valuation, on their last round that was closed in March of 2016, what was the valuation of Spotify? These people really know their numbers.
No, because we don't think about stupid
tech press are
things.
very number-oriented.
I think they were... I thought it was $7 billion.
$7 billion.
$7 billion.
18 billion.
32 billion.
32 billion. Okay. So it keeps climbing up. And the correct answer is...
See?
Finally, we've got some competition going. So at the end of this round, we have Kara with 25 points, Adelyn with 125 points, and my personal bet on a winner for this competition, David. You're doing really well with no points for the moment. Good job, David. What is, before we sign it off to the next round, so, we mentioned chatbots, and, Adelyn, this is an area that your company covers. What do you see, we all know that,
Don't
see that, that was Kara taking a selfie with the scoreboard.
Just keep it off the record.
We all
On
see
Instagram
chatbots
stories.
are being used for practical reasons, such as ordering an Uber or ordering a cheeseburger. And as we spoke behind the scenes before we started, now used for some advanced practical usages, such as filing insurance claims. When do you think that we'll see them coming for use in the content industry? Really becoming a way for publishers to interact with their audiences through chatbots?
I think it's already here.
Yeah, it's here.
Last year, in 2016, CNN had over 4.6 million people use Line to interact with their bots. That was way more than they had ever imagined. So millions of people are now already using it to interact with, Wall Street Journals, tech crunches. I think, do you guys have one
Vox
too?
Media has one. Yeah.
They're chatbots. So I think it's already here as a way to deliver content that's relevant to people based on their personalizations and what they like directly into their messaging apps.
And I'm ready to be replaced by a bot anytime you want.
It's been a little rocky, though. It hasn't been the perfect experience. I know we had some issues around Facebook, and the technology was difficult, and that didn't deliver. It's easier when you're ordering whatever a cheeseburger is, but it's easier when you're doing things like answering simple questions. It's harder to do it when it's more specific. But basic facts, certainly, it's great.
And Alexa, too, if you think about Alexa as a bot or a chatbot in some way of artificial intelligence. Most people use it these days as the first thing in the morning to get their news briefings and stuff.
Right.
So
yeah, that's exactly right.
And do you find that, so you made it, you at Vox Media, and I don't know, David, about you at Wired, you made it available to the public to use. Do you find that the adoption is more than just the anecdotal early adopters who test a new toy? Do you feel that it's really becoming a way for people, a more personal ways, in a way, a better way for people
like
to interact with media?
Alexa is a really good example. We have it on Alexa, and when it's not, some days we don't do it every day to update things, and people write me, like, where was your update on ReCode and stuff. So I think when you get more of these voice-activated things that people are actually interacting with versus the more wonky iterations, like I Google Home or Alexa. I love Alexa. It's my favorite thing that I own right now. And once you start to get used to interacting that way, it's how you interact with everything. It's just that voice has been so bad for so many years. I mean, my Siri literally is the dumbest woman on the planet, or man. But when it starts to get really good, it really is super helpful. I think it is. I think it's an amazing way to interact with all kinds of requests.
Great. Moving on to the next stage, we're going to play an entirely different game, and here's how it goes. We call it the Would You Rather game. We have posted on Playbuzz.com and across our network of publishers a series of survey questions asking more than 10,000 tech and media professionals, such as our distinguished contestants on stage, about their personal preference. And they answered, whether they rather A or B. We'll see the questions in a second. Your job now is to guess, not to state your own personal preference. I will actually ask each of you individually. You will all answer only 2 of those questions, and you have to guess, what did people choose? So this is about your understanding, or how much were you able to predict what is the current mindset in the industry about these topics. Now, to make things even more confusing, the scoring here is going to get a little bit funky. If you choose the wrong answer, if you choose the less popular options, you're going to get no points. If you do choose the right one, the popular one, the number of points you're going to get will be equal to the percentage of users who chose that options. So people can get very different kind of scores. And to make sure that you guys are not falling asleep, we also embedded some questions that are not directly related to your areas of expertise. So here's an example, just so you can see how it works before we get started. We're asking, we asked, let's put this question to the audience. What do you think people answered? Would they rather have incredibly slow Wi-Fi for the rest of their lives, or use this, old-fashioned feature phone for the next 10 years? Who thinks it was Wi-Fi, slow Wi-Fi?
The first one, you have to live in the United States of America, so.
And who thinks that it was the old phones? Okay, many more people. So let's see, were they correct? Indeed. You would have gotten 90 points had you participated. All right, first question, and this question goes to David. David, we asked our audience, would you rather only consume content in the long, old-fashioned format of long articles, or only be able to flip through your social feed and see just a headline and a thumbnail? What do you think they replied? What do you think they answered?
Sadly, B.
Sadly, B. So I think people do prefer to look at their feed. And do you find, you're still writing articles in what we call the old-fashioned model, right?
Fountain pens. Yep.
Long researches, you invest a lot in every story. You really, do put a lot of effort behind. Do you have any way of tracking readability or kind of understanding how much of it people actually consume?
The only people reading Wired now are bots.
Or bots creators, for that matter. Your audience is very tech-oriented.
The way a Condé Nast works is we go in the chauffeur-driven limousine to their house, knock on their door, and ask them if they read the full piece. It takes about 3 years to get the data back.
Perfect. All right. Sounds like a great business model. So David replied that answer B. Let's see what was the correct answer.
That's close.
David, congratulations. This is, I think, hey, David, here's cheers, your first few points. Cheers.
That's because people want to say they're reading long articles. Do you know what I mean? People want to pretend that that's what they're doing. Versus...
Oh, I think, in this case, people said that they're more comfortable flipping through their social feed and just
No, but it was close. It was super close. You'd think it would not be.
It was, and you'll see that in many of their results, the results could be surprising. Kara, the next one is for you. So we asked people, would they rather never be able to use any Apple products or Google products? Which one of them was easier for people to give up on?
That's a tough one.
They would give up Apple.
Give up Apple. All right, and the audience answered?
Oh, wow.
So it was very tight. As you can see, they were both 50%, but you have answered correctly because there were a few answers more. You know, the one in the dark blue was the correct answer. So you do get 50 points.
Okay.
Congratulations. Adelyn, a question for you that, I see no one in a better position to answer. Would people rather have Trump's hair for the rest of the month or to wear the, die-hard gray T-shirt, gray Zuckerberg T-shirt for the rest of their lives?
Wear Zuckerberg's T-shirt.
The Zuckerberg T-shirt. Are you sure? Is this your final answer?
Yes.
Are you sure? Okay. And the audience answered? You know your audience. 62 points for Adelyn. Kara, you're up next. So in light of some privacy concerns, would you say people would have rather making all of their private messages on Snapchat go to the public or expose all of their emails?
Oh, wow. Emails.
Emails. People will be more about emails.
We're
Let
used
me
to
ask
that
you,
now.
on the topic of privacy in general, which is always an interesting topic, and we've seen from the emergence of WikiLeaks into the political scandals and other things, in today's reality, when all of your life are practically managed in the cloud, how feasible are those privacy concerns, and how much do you find yourselves or organizations actually taking measures in order to protect that privacy?
I don't think there is any privacy anymore. So
At all?
No. I think anything is discoverable at this point. And so you take moves. I have two-factor authentication and all kinds of encryption, but unless you really encrypt things seriously, it's done. It's done.
Anytime you click on one of Yossi's emails to accept an invitation to one of his conferences, he plants spyware on your device.
Yeah.
That's factually very true.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so Kara voted for emails, and the correct answer is...
Oh, wow.
Snaps.
Really?
Could be some bias, though, for the fact that tech professionals are probably not the classic Snapchat users.
That's why people use Snapchat, so they don't get...
I know, when people say, how for us parents, we say that we don't get Snapchat. Snapchat was invented as a vanishing pics application so kids can communicate without their parents spying on them. It was meant so we don't understand it. Do you guys use Snapchat at all?
Yeah.
You do?
Totally.
And you actually use it only because you want to keep up with the millennials, or do you actually use it? Do you find it to be a viable tool for your own usage?
It's great. It's great. It's not true that old people don't understand it. That's so ridiculous.
All right, I touched the chord there, I can see. So.
I use my typewriter. Like, come on. Like,
now you see why she was named the most frightening woman in Silicon Valley, right?
it's funny that people think that.
Say, I use Snapchat and
really
I'm not that old.
Snapchat's really fun. You should use it. It's harder to understand if you haven't used it. It's just like using anything else, but you should use it. It's super fun. Yeah.
And DLD has a pretty good Snapchat thing, too. They were, updating, every 10 minutes. So it's pretty fun to follow.
That's cool. David, a question for you, an intellectual question, because I see, you're doing very well, so we want to make it hard for you a little bit. Would people rather never to use spell check again or never to use deodorant again?
Oh.
So I think people would give up spell check because the only time they ever use spell check is when they're writing an email applying for a job. And as we know, there are no jobs anymore because the AIs have taken them all.
All right, so, they have disclosed some of his hygiene habits as part of that answer, so he was voting for spell check.
Yeah.
And the audience was very much with you.
Yeah.
And just like that, we'll soon see the summary of score. David catching a big part of the gap. So just to show you how funky can it get. Next question is for you, Adelyn, and it's about advertisement. So what do people find more annoying? Would they rather have video pre-rolls before every video they watch, or those overlay pop-ups that cover an article when they're reading text?
Both so annoying.
I know. Pop-up ads when you're reading an article.
They would prefer the pop-up ads on the article than video. And on the contrary, I don't think, maybe we should say that people don't really read text anymore, so they don't, they don't know what it is. Next question for you, Kara. This is intellectually stimulating.
What?
Would people rather use eye drops made of vinegar or use toilet paper made from sandpaper?
These are the pressing questions you're asking our nation's youth. That's great. I have no fucking idea on this one. People? Which one? I guess eye drops of vinegar. You wouldn't want to use sandpaper. Well, you actually have sandpaper too.
Or contacts or something like
Yeah,
that.
eye drops made of vinegar. I don't know.
Well, she has spoken, and let's see. And the audience answered, yeah, totally.
Does
You
this
know your
vary-
vinegar.
Does this
People
vary
like
according to Democrats or Republicans?
Well, the tech, media tech industry. So, we only put it on media tech publications or publications that address the industry in general.
Well, Donald Trump as president is like toilet paper made of sandpaper.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
I was wondering when it's going to come up. David, last question for you, and then we have another one for Adelyn. Would people rather only be able to use Instagram stories or Snapchat stories? As we said, they are becoming more and more alike. Which one of them do people find more appealing?
So I'm kind of with Kara on the original Beats, the copycats. I'm with Snapchat.
Snapchat. And the answer is? Almost.
Wow.
And Adelyn, last one for you. It's an intellectual question. If people, would people rather go into the future to see what tech is going to look like in 100 years from today, or play the trick of going back 100 years in time and invent, cell phones and internet and some of the technologies that became so paramount?
Oh, it depends on how. Yeah, if they want to go back in time, then they invest in themselves and become billionaires. I could see them wanting to do that. But yeah, maybe that. People want to be
Spoken like a true entrepreneur. And the audience selected?
First one.
So it was very, very even, but you do get 50 points because you were just a tiny bit, just a few years answered above. What is really, speaking of which, when you guys look at new ideas, entrepreneurial ideas, and you guys are covering not only the giants of the industry, but also a lot of innovation, it's very likely that when you meet a young company, whatever it is that they do, whichever concept they're selling you is going to evolve 100 times before it will even see the light of day. How much weight, how much importance do you give to the actual concept, or maybe at an early stage, it's more about the entrepreneurs themselves and the field they operate in?
I usually wait till they have a slide saying we are a machine learning company. If they're making toilet brushes, it has to be a machine learning toilet brush. Then I'll invest.
So you're investing in buzzwords generators.
I think it's both. I think you can't ignore both. I don't go on necessarily their records at all, because you don't know what the ideas are going to come from. But I do remember when I met the Google guys in their garage, and there were not hundreds, but a dozen search companies. And everyone was like, what do we need another search company? And I remember thinking these guys are special because of the way they talked about it. At the same time, when someone told me about eBay for the first time, I was like, I don't understand that at all. So I didn't get that in any way. And when I met Mark for the first time, it was very clear he was going to win. It was super clear for some reason that he had a concept that was better.
Interesting, but at the time his concept was very rudimentary version of what we see today, right?
Yeah,
did he describe the whole vision, or did he describe just the feature?
He did. He called it. I remember when I met him for the first time. I had been brought over there when he had just gotten to Silicon Valley, and his CEO at the time said, "You should meet Mark Zuckerberg. He has this new thing that's going to be really popular." And I said, I've heard he's an asshole. I don't really want to meet him. And so I walked in the room, and I did it anyway. And he walked in the room, and he introduced himself, and he goes, "I hear you think I'm an asshole," which wasn't really nice. And I said, "I don't know you well enough to think you're an asshole yet, but I'm sure I will in time." But he talked about it as a utility. I'll never forget that. He talked about it as a daily utility, and I thought that was the smartest thing I'd heard from someone. He didn't talk about it in these, he said, Facebook will be a utility that people will use every day. And he described essentially what it is today then. So he had the same concept. And so I thought that was not something someone would say, a 22-year-old, or however old he was at the time, would call something, "I'm making a utility." That sounds dull, but he did, and that's what it is.
Well, little did you know that a few years later you're going to be making famous for sweating on stage.
That's right.
In another. All right, and okay, great. So at the end of round 2, we have a massive change in the scoring system. Not really. I mean, Adelyn is still way ahead of the others, but the others no longer look pathetic. So, you know, there is some evolution going on. And the good news are that if you guys still want to win, the third and final round is your chance, because in this round, we're actually going to utilize those fancy buzzers we gave you. And only the first person to hit the buzzer will actually be seen. You know, immediately it cancels the others. I'm going to throw a bunch of questions at you. And with every question that I'm going to show you, only the first one that clicks the buzzers can answer it. And when they do, they'll get 50 points if they answered correctly, but they will be subtracted 50 points if they answered incorrectly. So, you know,
so we can go into the
I
negatives.
guess for you, Adelyn, you may want to play it safe. For the others, you know, you've got nothing to lose. You may as well gamble. So we're going to talk about fake news. But before we actually go to the questions themselves, everybody's talking about fake news since the election. Were fake news really the reasons for the election's result? Was it really a contributor, or was it kind of a unnoticeable side effect? What do we know? What do numbers show about that?
Well, it doesn't really. I mean, that's the problem with it. It's insidious. I mean, of course it had an impact. It's a question of how much impact, what it did. But I think more of the issue is it kept people in their own lanes. So the people who liked Trump believed all the awful Hillary Clinton stuff. People who liked Hillary believed all, well, a lot of the stuff was awful about Trump, but they stuck in their lane. So I think it absolutely had an impact. And
so saying it was kind of an echo chamber effect of, you know, everybody was...
Not just that, is that it, like Facebook, I've said this many times, Facebook has a responsibility as a media platform, and they pretend they're not. You know, they abrogate all responsibility. You know, Google's able to take down this stuff pretty quickly, but they have other issues, technical, and their commitment to users is to let them post anything they want, so they have a more difficult problem. But they certainly had a responsibility to clean up some of this trash that was all over. That one happens to be true. But,
once you create confusion in general, then when there's a serious scandal, people just don't believe it enough.
Yeah, right. And then it gets people to say that's Europe. One time, there was one up there that I have a lot of relatives in West Virginia. Nothing against West Virginia, but a lot against West Virginia. And there was one about Hillary being a lizard person. She was an actual lizard person. And one of my cousins said, oh, she's a lizard person. And I was like, what? Like, and they were like, I said, no, that's not true. And they're like, that's your opinion. And I was like, all right. So you lose everything when that's
everything is debatable. So you bring up the question of, you know, is it Facebook's responsibility? I guess what you're saying is that since these fake news, since today news are distributed on primarily through Facebook, and since in the old world it was all about the credibility of the publication, but today we no longer go to the publication, we just meet it on Facebook, then we expect the distribution platform to be the mediator that calls out the appropriate from the inappropriate. And, you know, what do you think, since media reliability is in an all-time low in the consumer's view, maybe you guys, maybe your more traditional publications had some contribution to the emergence of fake news, in the sense that people kind of believe that today everything is commercialized. So even what we call real news or not fake news is not as reliable as it used to be.
I don't think anyone liked the press before. I think they've always, go look in our history, like just US history, there's always been attacks on the press. Nixon administration, Spiro Agnew called the press nattering nabobs of negativism. Look what happened to him, indicted. Look what happened to Nixon, indicted. You know what I mean? Like, these people do use the press as a whipping post so that they can take away focus from their own problems. And I think that's precisely what's going to happen here. That Trump will continue to do this and attack the press, and eventually he'll do something that's actually illegal or possibly illegal. And so I think they just do it because it's easy. It's like saying you hate lawyers or whatever. It's just typical. It's cynical and horrible, but that's what they do.
All right, great.
We're negative, yes. The press is negative, yes. So sorry. Things are not good all over the world. So.
Perfect, thank you. So with that, we're going to see how good is your fake news detectors. Be ready to hit the buzzer. The first question is already on the screen. This is coming from The Independent. Donald Trump kicks baby out of his rally in Virginia for crying. Did that actually happen, or this is fake news? David?
It happened.
It happened.
Yeah.
Did it really happen?
Yeah.
Let's check.
Yes.
It did. Great, 50 points for David.
Okay.
Next question,
Can't
put your
believe he did
fingers
that.
on the buzzer and be ready. From ABC News, did the Amish community decided together that they're going to vote for Trump? Kara?
Fake.
Fake news. Are you calling ABC News fake? Well, that's, it happens to, yeah, that's true. Correct answer, 50 points for Kara. Next one,
I like the Amish too.
from CNN. So giant gold letters that spell Trump fall from the buildings. David?
True.
True. Did that really happen?
Yeah.
Wow, these guys know true news from fake news. Good job. Great, 50 points for David. The next one, number 4, from Obama cuts 2.6 billion in funding and move it to Syrian refugees. Did he really do that, Kara?
Fake. It's fake.
He did not do that, did he? No, he did not. 50 points for Kara. Adelyn, I feel like you're not really, you're not watching
My
over your lead.
strategy,
I
though.
just want to say, it could be more fragile than you think. Okay, next.
Oh, okay.
Next question.
I like to read the news.
So, CNN, did Donald Trump actually call Hillary Clinton the devil, Adelyn?
Real.
Real. He actually called her the devil?
Yes,
he
did.
sure did.
He sure did.
Oh, wow. So before we go to the last one, let's take a look at the score, because this is the very last question that's going to determine the winner. And it's, by the way, everybody can still win.
All
So
right.
if I were you, the moment we show it over, just hit the buzzer and take a guess.
That's the plan.
Because,
Thank you.
This is how it's going to go. Ready? Let's have the last one. Last question. So did Mike Pence actually said Michelle Obama is the most vulgar first lady we've ever had? Who clicked?
That is fake. He is an awful person, but he's polite.
Wait, who clicked the buzz? Was it Kara?
Yeah.
Okay, and Kara said that this is
Fake.
fake, and you are correct, which means that at the end of this fancy game show, let's put it this way.
Media for the win.
David Rowan has, just created great reputation for the people of the United Kingdom. Thank you, David. Adelyn Zhou gave a great fight and was almost,
Well
able
done.
to beat the Masters in their own
She
game.
knows her valuations because she's an entrepreneur.
That's true. But the ultimate winner that's going to be rewarded here on stage, and if I were you, I would take out your cameras, because this is going to be very
No,
visual.
no.
Yes, it is. It's Kara, and Kara, we are now crowning you as
Oh no, that's not
there it
happening.
is. The
That
ultimate
is
winner. It's part of the game. Hold on to that.
I was just at an event, Bits and Pretzels, and they tried to make everyone wear lederhosen and that kind of stuff. And I
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. By the way, I was really hoping that David is going to win, so we can
Ow, that's hard.
put the queen
Thank
cards
you.
ahead.
Thank you
All right,
so
thank
much.
you so much.
Thank
so this
you.
was the second.
I'm gonna give
and
it to
hopefully
you,
not
though.
last
No.